In these very tumultuous times, these very rapidly changing times that you are living in, especially the law school students, you also see other statistics about our community, the Latino community, that we're now officially 16% of the population, 50 million, one of the most rapidly growing communities all around the country, the sleeping giant. Now I'm going to say something about some people that are here that I've been growing up with that are so important, like Senator Gonzalo Barrientos, who authored a lot of the legislation that created the Hispanic initiatives in this state, everything from law and health care to a young, very good lawyer in San Antonio who always helped every single Latino candidate that came through San Antonio, and that is my friend Frankie back there. Frankie, thank you. And you get in trouble when you start acknowledging people. But let me just say something before I give you a little message. Finished my governorship. I've gone from 3,000 staff people to 1. I have to go security at airports. Kind of what I paid in today. And so, in this transitional period, I reflect. And I know I'll get back into government. I'm basically making a living giving speeches. Thank you for the 100,000 tonight. Don't worry, it's free. And I was picked up at the airport by Ambrosia and by Javier. And I thought of my early start in politics because I am a Latino, but it's hard to convince people, like I'm Bill Richardson and I'm a Latino running for Congress in New Mexico. And nobody knows me. And my wife says, you're never going to get elected. You speak Castilian Spanish. You don't look like a Hispanic, you look like a Navajo. You're not going to win. What are you doing? And I did lose that first one, but I won the second. But my point here is that, how do I convince people that Bill Richardson is a Latino? And my advisor said, well, use your mom's name, Bill Richardson Lopez, and put the billboards, Richardson Lopez. Well, it seems a little phony. I mean, if it were Garcia Lopez, you could do it. But then I saw, Ambrosia, Ortiz y Prince, with an I. And then Javier Perez Afanador with a little thing. I wish I thought about that. But these two young people just impressed me so much. They were so enthusiastic. And I was so honored to be part of this evening. So I'm going to give you a gift. It's a short speech. Because, why are you laughing? Because I do want to just say a couple of things about where I see our Latino community going. Here's what I want to see in 5 to 10 years. I want to see a Hispanic governor of Texas. Not going to happen, look what happened in the last election. You know what? Look at what's happening in Egypt. Look what's happening around the world. I just want to tell you that it gives me great pride with what you are doing. I turned out okay. I see the professor, he graduated from Yale. He's this handsome professor. Went to Yale. And I want you to know that I am the distinguished lecturer at Yale University on Tuesday, after spending 3 days at the Kennedy School at Harvard. The reason I mention that, my friend, is that Yale turned me down. And although I turned out okay, I'm going to remind them that. And in those days when Gonzalo and I and Frankie, there were maybe 3 members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Your organization is 40 years old, so you had just probably been created. I met one individual here that told me that his father couldn't get a haircut in downtown Austin. Couldn't get a haircut because of discrimination. And it wasn't that long ago. And you know, when you feel that and realize how far we've come, you have a combination of anger and pride. And so when I look at this huge state with all these resources, and I read the statistics of our community growing, creciendo, getting stronger, and women more involved in politics and law school, it gives me great hope. And Joe and I were saying, look at all the faces around here. Good-looking people, strong people, the future. And it really is, it's not a cliche. And so I think we should be very proud, not just in our growing numbers, because, you know, when those of us like Gonzalo, although he's a little older than me, but anyway, I wonder about this thing, Frankie who's already sleeping, that, you know, we've reached a point where we're moving from the sleeping giant. You know, every election, you know, it always happens. What are the Hispanics going to do? That'll decide the presidential election. But then the pundits say, oh, they didn't get out to vote. Oh, they don't have that strength that they're supposed to. But the reality is when you start practicing, or when you leave the law school, the future is going to be the Latino, because of numbers, and I think the evolution of this country will be very strong. And you will be able to lead that. Today, that sleeping giant is going to wake up. And it's going to be up to you to channel those resources. Now, I'm always asked, well, what would you do in your career that would be different? And I'm going to be very honest with you. I would have gone to law school. I didn't, because at the time, my academic interests were rather limited. You know, I was into baseball. I was into, you know, dating. I was in a fraternity. You know, my evolution came later. And my point is that I think it's very important that those of you that have this responsibility of graduates, that you look at your future. Yeah, you know, go into private practice, corporate, make some money, but also there's another side. There's a public service side. There's the ability and the promise of giving something of yourself to mentor a young Chicano, or to run for office yourself, or to serve in state government, or to become a judge, or try to become a judge, especially here in Texas with all these redistricting challenges. And in your legislature, you know, the DREAM Act and voter ID and all those repressive initiatives, not the DREAM Act. That's a good one. But you know, I know you're cheering, but I want to tell you that in New Mexico, we did the DREAM Act 6 years ago. And in New Mexico, I signed a law pushed by many of us to give licenses to undocumented workers. And you know why I'm proud of that? It's because it works. First of all, you can keep track of all those folks. Secondly, the uninsured rate goes down. Traffic accidents go down. My own Homeland Security law enforcement said, Governor, push and sign this bill because it improves safety. And we have the statistics to show it. 3 other states did it. Yeah, it's controversial. But I think if we integrate our communities together, if we go to the Congress and say, okay, and the political leadership in this country and say, all right, you want our support? What we want is a DREAM Act and comprehensive immigration reform that is fair and honest and in the traditions of this country.